Only one? Only one episode about self-limiting beliefs? I feel like I could write an entire book about self-limiting beliefs. But if you have clicked on this podcast, you are in for a treat, or hopefully an enlightenment or an opportunity to see some of the things and behaviors that are happening under the surface and bring them into the light to take a look at them. Self-limiting beliefs. I thought I would start with this definition of the word belief. And so I looked it up for you. A belief is an acceptance that something exists or is true, especially one without proof. So the academics in the listening room will be like, okay, so it's a thing without any proof, any data, any research. It's just something we believe. And of course, we think of belief in our Western world around a religious conviction. This idea that we have faith in God or in the universe or whatever, and that is a guiding force that drives our behaviors. So this definition of beliefs kind of sets up this conversation about self-limiting beliefs. Are you talking, Jenny, that I have beliefs that hold me back from being my whole self? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, of course I want to be my whole self. Of course I want to be more successful. Of course I want to be more fulfilled, happier, richer, all those, gorgeous, right? All those things that we think of as a Western society of what we desire. I want to tell a story to kick us off, which was a real punch in the face for me around self-limiting beliefs. I had gone to the same dentist for many, many years since I was like a teenager, and he retired. And when I think of that dentist that I used to go to, the word that came to mind was kind and nice. He went beyond to make sure that you were comfortable in the chair. He was an incredibly kind and compassionate person. And you can see how that really colored the way I thought of him and his practice. When he retired, a new dentist came into place. And I remember going for the first time to the dentist chair and having this experience. And by the way, the experience in the dentist chair was perfectly fine. Not better, not worse. I would just say about the same. And when I came out from the dentist chair to go and pay at the reception area, I'll never forget this. When I looked down at the invoice, it was significantly more than I had been charged by my previous dentist, my kind, generous previous dentist. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is more. And I felt uncomfortable. And you know that I always get really curious when I get uncomfortable. And so I said to the lady behind the counter, I said, this is more than I paid with our previous dentist. Can you explain it to me? And she got very defensive. It was really interesting. She stopped looking at me in the eye. She turned her head and she said, well, we're still 10% below the recommended book prices for dentists in Canada, according to the association. So immediately a very defensive response to this. And I thought that was interesting too, but I didn't have time to process. I was busy writing my check, or in this case, paying through Interac. And I walked out the front door of the dentist office. And it was then that it hit me. I was holding around a core belief that nice people charge less. Now think about that, people. Think of all of you out there. The assumption that when you're nice, you're supposed to charge less. So if a core value or something that's really important to you is that you're a nice, kind, compassionate person, then it is incongruent to you that you would charge really high prices, right? I mean, along the same lines, we think a lot of people have beliefs about rich people. Rich people are jerks, right? Rich people are not fit. Rich people waste their money, or that they're unhappy. So if we have a core belief that rich people are jerks or unhappy, I'm not sure many of us would want to be rich in exchange for being a jerk or unhappy, at least not the people that I know and the people that I work with. And so we set up our worlds with these underlying self-limiting beliefs that disallow us from receiving money or disallow us from becoming rich, because becoming rich means that we have to turn into a jerk. Or in my case, charging for what I'm worth would mean that I was now unkind. Can you see how bringing these self-limiting beliefs out to the light can be incredibly freeing, for that matter? So at the end of the podcast, I'm going to give you some tools about how you can identify these beliefs, and then how you can kind of go through a process to take a look at them and ask yourself some really specific questions on whether they help you or whether they don't help you. Because here's the thing. The beliefs will continue running on in the background like a ticker tape until you decide to take a look at them, identify them for what they're worth, ask yourself whether they're helping you or not, and decide to put them in the trash bin, or maybe shift them to fuel your vision and your opportunities for the future. So here's the kicker. We do this to ourselves. Now, I don't know if that's soothing to you or really disturbing to you. For me, I feel like it's a bit of both. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jenny, like you haven't figured this out. How long have you been on this planet for? And you keep having the same dance. You keep going through the same patterns. I remember when I was in therapy or in couples therapy, we use this analogy of doing the same dance. As partners, we have these habits that we get into, and we do the same dance every time until somebody says, no, I want to change the steps here. What if we did this? What if we did the rumba instead of the cha-cha or the canasta? Is there a canasta? I'm not sure. Okay, I digress. But here's the kicker. We do it to ourselves. Why are these self-limiting beliefs part of us? Where did they come from? So these are beliefs from long ago. They are beliefs that protected you. I know that seems hard to imagine, but it's the truth. These are the beliefs that allowed you to survive in this world when you were a young person. They're old stories, they're old narratives, and they may or may not serve you anymore. So as an example, let's think of an example around that. When we change or shift our beliefs, it requires us to take a look at old stories. And sometimes those old stories are things that we're not particularly proud of. But by facing them and having a look at them, they can no longer hold the same power over us. So let's take a look at the analytical piece, right? So let's start with the analytical, and I'm going to use some examples just to put it into context. So here's some beliefs I hear a lot of in coaching, and I'm just going to ramble them through. And as you're listening, you might write them down, or you might think, oh yeah, I recognize that belief as something I've held true. So you have to make money. You have to have money to make money. That's a belief I hear. There's not enough money out there to successfully achieve goal on our campaign. I'm not a good fit for that VP role. Rich people are jerks. Rich people are unhappy in their jobs. That is not for me. It will not happen for me. That's for other people. This one feels very personal. I am not the kind of person who has over 20 people in one of their online courses. I did say this was going to be autobiographical, didn't I? I don't need the money. Ooh, that one, I see so many people hiding behind that. I don't need the money. And finally, I don't think I can do a good enough job of stewarding that gift or stewarding that relationship, so I might as well not try at all. They're painful, right? To open up and look at. What are some of your core beliefs that come up when I read that list? You might take one of those, or you might take one that's been rumbling around back. It's like that honesty moment, right? Where you have to be honest with yourself. You have to say, yeah, what have I been hiding from? What is it that I've been hiding from? So take one of those beliefs and let's put it through this little exercise, shall we say. Question number 1. Okay, I'm going to use one. I don't need the money. Okay, that's going to be Jenny Mitchell's. I love this sort of co-coaching through this. No opportunity. There is absolutely no wiggle room here for me to not be vulnerable with you folks. And I'm laying it all on the line. I don't need the money. So question number 1 to our analytical brain: is this in fact true? Like, if I took that to the next extension, I don't need the money, what would that mean? Well, it would mean, I guess, that I had enough money, or I believed I had enough money saved to take care of all my needs until I died, to take care of my children, to make sure my kids could go to school without stress. Is that in fact true, Jenny? Well, actually, it's not true. I still do want and desire more money in my life. So, okay, is that in fact true? No. Question 2: if I chose to believe this, how would I behave? If I chose to believe this, how would I behave? Holy crap, you guys, think about that. If I don't need the money, I am actually going to push away money from my life. I am going to avoid situations where money comes into my life. I am going to avoid situations where people want to hire me. I am going to do everything in my power to not have money come into my life, because I've already told myself I don't need it. Do you see how this is working? And then question number 3, if this isn't true, if I've decided that this core belief doesn't serve me anymore, what else could I believe? Okay, I have to think about this. If I did not believe that I didn't need the money, could I say, I do desire more money in my life, because more money in my life allows me to celebrate and enjoy the experiences of my labors, the fruits of my labors, for the benefit of myself, but also for the benefit of my family, my community. Having more money means I can be a more generous donor. Having more money means I can make a bigger impact. Having more money means that my values and my beliefs can be perpetuated forward into the next iteration of society. I certainly have lots of causes that I want to support, but I've never really, do you see that? I've never really tied it to having money. So I choose to believe that I desire more money in my world. And so question number 4 is, am I ready to let go of that belief? And if I was ready to let go of that belief, what do I need to do? Well, if I needed to do that, if I wanted to do that, I would need to really get clear on how much money I needed, what the money was going to go to. I remember one of my first business coaches saying to me, Jenny, and I knew this, I'm not motivated by, yay, I'm going to raise X million dollars, or yay, my business is going to do X million dollars next year. It's not really a motivator for me. But when I think about it from the impact side of it, when I think about how many people I can reach, or I think about how much I could give away and what causes I would put it towards, that creating a movement, a momentum, a Jenny momentum. Oh, I like that. A Jenny momentum for where that money could go. That gets me excited. And then that motivates me to make or raise or build that empire to support that vision. I'm a movement creator, not a pile of money creator, right? And remember, those are tied back to those money archetypes. The accumulator loves to see the money coming in, or me, an alchemist, is much more interested in creating a mission or a movement and changing and doing it with people. So let's go back through those 4 questions. I went through it fast. Question 1, taking a look at the belief. Is that in fact true? Question 2, if I chose to believe this, how would I behave? So taking an extension of the belief and saying, well, what would that look like if I did choose to behave that way and believe that? Question 3, if this isn't true, what else could I believe? How could I shift or change the belief? And finally, this is the doozy. Am I ready to let go of that belief? And what would I need to do in order to let go of it? Those are the analytical questions that we can walk ourselves through when we hit an obstacle. Let's call them a belief obstacle, a BO, a belief obstacle. That's on the analytical side. There is also the feeling side, right? I mean, unless you're completely out of touch with yourself, which I certainly have been in the past, but I'm working hard to trust my intuition, trust my gut, trust my butterflies in my stomach. And you know that feeling. It's an uncomfortableness. It's a like, oh, the sweater's too tight kind of a feeling. Like, why is this bugging me so much, right? That often starts for me as, why do I care so much about this? And rather than having it operate on a subconscious level, how can I bring it up and take a look at it? And this requires courage. All of my podcasts go back to that word choice. All of my podcasts really tie back to this idea of conscious living, of living every day as consciously and as awakened as I can, not letting my patterns, my self-limiting beliefs sabotage me, not letting them run on a subconscious level, but truly taking responsibility, radical responsibility for my choices. I wrote down in my notes here for the podcast, eyes open. That is the kind of world that I want for my next 50 years on this planet. So let's just take stock here in this self-limiting beliefs podcast. We defined what a belief was. And basically a belief is anything you hold to be true without any data or research to back her up. It's something you think or feel. You learned it somewhere. It was something that protected you at some point, right? There's a biological desire for us to stay safe. But we don't live in the woods anymore. We don't live out in the boonies where we have to hunt and protect each other. We are more evolved than that. And so our consciousness has to evolve. And so we can take a look at those old stories and old narratives and ask ourselves, are these the way I choose to operate today? And maybe even further than that, is this a belief that will help fuel my dream and my vision for the future? We can take a look at those analytical questions. Is this in fact true? If I chose to believe this, how would I behave? If this isn't true, what else could I believe in its stead? And finally, am I ready to let go of that belief? Eyes open, conscious choices, living each day with intention. This is not like bullshit, by the way. I really, truly believe this. I know I sound like a poster child for self-help books. My kids would be like, Mom, not a podcast. But in this case, it really is a podcast. I'm truly recording this. And I do believe this. The other thing I just want to say is it's not like we're not going to have hardships. It's not like we're not going to have hard, difficult, challenging days. But we don't have to be sabotaging ourselves through these hard, difficult, challenging days. We can lean on our intuition, our choices, our eyes open experience to support us through that. So now what? As we come to the end of this podcast, what do we do with all this? How do we walk away from this 20 minutes I've had with you, this beautiful gift that you've given me, which is your ears and your thoughts? By the way, I always welcome your thoughts and your comments. Please do send me an email at jenny@chavender. That's Chavender like lavender. .com. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these self-limiting beliefs. Does this resonate for you? Or are you like, yeah, I'm not ready to go there? And that's totally fine too. So what? I really want you to dig in and do some reading or some self-reflection on your personal core beliefs and self-limiting beliefs. I have here in my notes to journal. I'm not a big journaler. It takes me a lot of time to slow down and journal. But every time I do it, it feels good. I'm not going to lie. And I think that is that whole perfectionist thing. I don't know how to journal. I don't know what I'm supposed to write in the journal. Where do I start? All that stuff. So just maybe letting go of all those, self-limiting beliefs about journaling and just sit down and see what happens with no judgment. You can absolutely work with me on these self-limiting beliefs. I am a work in progress. I bring my work in progress to every one of my coaching calls, but I can tell you, I am proof positive. I am the living example amongst other people as well, that taking a look at these beliefs can allow you to have a more successful career, can allow you to have more fulfilled relationships, but most importantly, to be happier doing it. I really think that when we bring back the joy and the happiness, and dare I say, contentment and peace, that our world can be so much richer, and all the other parts of your world just flow from that. Finally, because this is the Underdog Leadership Podcast, I want to close with this. We have a lot of self-limiting beliefs about what leadership looks like and what leadership is expected to be like. And for many of my clients, for many of the people I really connect with, we are not the archetypical leader profile that we have been taught in society to show up for. And so when that belief of how it's supposed to be is deeply ingrained, that can start and become a self-limiting belief. Oh, I'm not that kind of leader. I'm much better off as a number two. I should stay right here where I am safe, right here where I am not too big for my britches, right here when my ideas won't overwhelm anyone. Every single one of those three things I just said, I have heard people say in coaching calls. I have said them myself along the way. And then I've had to ask myself, I'll never forget what one of my coaches said to me, Jenny, who taught you to play small? Ouch. If you're listening and that resonates, the world needs your gifts. The world needs you to get into your self-limiting beliefs so that you can show up as your whole self. And all of those self-limiting beliefs about what leadership is supposed to be is holding you back subconsciously from even wanting to lead, from even stepping your toe into leading. Not everyone wants to lead, but if it is a desire, a knowing, an inkling, a feeling in you, God, don't let those beliefs hold you back from your potential. You were made for more. The world needs these underdog leaders to lead in a new way, in a new compassionate way. I'm starting to sound like I'm on a soapbox, but we need you to step up. This is not just about you. This is about the people around you, the people that look up to you, the people that can identify with you moving from a number two to a number one position to lead in the way that feels authentic to you. Self-limiting beliefs. You can decide to let them be. You can decide to take a look at them. And you can decide to blow them up and choose some new ones. I would love to hear what self-limiting belief you are choosing today as of listening to this podcast to blow up. I'm seeing like firecrackers on the 4th of July or on Canada Day where you just blow them up and you watch them explode. Isn't that a great visual? Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end of the podcast. Every time I finish these, I'm like totally jazzed. I have to go walk around the block because I'm full of energy. You guys give me energy. You give me fuel to keep talking about this, to keep exploring this. I believe in you. I believe in the potential of the compassionate and ambitious underdog leader. Go be great. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thanks for being here.